On the evening of Monday, May 4, 2026, a babysitter picked up her phone and made a call. She did not have a specific reason. She could not point to a threat that had been made, an argument she had witnessed, a behavior that had changed in a way she could name. What she had was something quieter than that and more reliable. She knew this family. She knew their patterns, their rhythms, the particular way their days moved. And she knew that the silence that had held since Sunday night was wrong. This family does not go dark like this. That was not a documented fact. That was not a police report. That was the instinct of a woman who paid attention. She made the call. Around 5:30 in the evening, Houston Police Department officers arrived at a home on Kingston Street near Avalon Place in River Oaks, one of the most prestigious, most carefully maintained, most quietly wealthy neighborhoods in the entire city of Houston. A neighborhood of $1 million homes and immaculate lawns and lives that from the outside look exactly the way lives are supposed to look. HPD officers walked through the front door of that home, and what they found inside is the reason we are here today. Matthew Mitchell, 52 years old, dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Guy Mitchell, 39 years old, pregnant, dead from a gunshot wound to the head. Ruled a homicide. Maya Mitchell, 8 years old, dead from a gunshot wound to the head. Ruled a homicide. Maxwell Mitchell, 4 years old, dead from a gunshot wound to the head. Ruled a homicide. The official time of the children's deaths, recorded by the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences, 6:11 in the evening on that Monday. Both children were found in their beds. I want you to sit with that for a moment before we go any further. In their beds. The place where a child trusts completely that they are safe. The place where a parent says good night and the child closes their eyes and the world is small and warm and contained. That is where Maya Mitchell and Maxwell Mitchell were found. Houston police issued an official statement. It said, and I am quoting directly, "Evidence on scene indicated the incident was a murder-suicide in which the male shot the 3 victims and then shot himself." That finding was confirmed by NBC News. It was confirmed by the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences. It is the official record. No prior police calls to that home. 0. In the 6 months before May 4, 2026, there was not one documented incident at that address. Not one complaint. Not one call for help. 0 legal filings of any kind in Harris County courts. No restraining orders. No domestic violence reports. Nothing on any record that would have told any system, any neighbor, any colleague, any friend that something was building behind that door. Nothing. And then 4 people were gone. This is the Mitchell family case. And the question at the center of it, the question that Houston police have not officially answered, that no note has confirmed, that no motive has explained, is why. Today on Real Crime Uncovered, we examine every confirmed fact, every documented detail, every theory that has been put forward publicly, and every angle that has not yet been examined at all. We are going to put everything on the board. We are going to be honest about what the evidence supports and what it does not. And we are going to name the one piece of context that every outlet covering this case has overlooked. Stay with us. Here is what we know. Here is what we do not. And here is the line between them. Houston police have named Matthew Mitchell as the suspect in the deaths of his wife and 2 children. Confirmed. The Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences has ruled all 3 deaths homicides. Confirmed. Matthew Mitchell died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound on the same evening. Confirmed. What Houston police have not released is a motive. There is no official explanation for why a man with dinner plans on that same Monday evening walked through his own home and did what investigators say he did. No confirmed note. No documented final communication. No statement from investigators pointing to a specific trigger that anyone has been able to name and place on a timeline. The investigation remains active. And that matters. Because it means the why in this case has not been closed. It is still being examined by the people with access to the phone records, the financial records, the private communications, the things that never reach the public record until investigators are ready to release them. Or until they decide not to. Here is what this video is going to do. It is going to introduce you to Thy Mitchell in full, not as a victim in a headline but as the complete human being she was. It is going to walk you through the clinical framework that researchers have built over decades to understand exactly this category of event. It is going to put every theory on the board, examine each one honestly, and give you a ranked conclusion that the evidence can actually support. And it is going to examine one piece of context that no outlet covering this family has followed all the way through. One thread left sitting on the table. We are picking it up today. Every claim in this video comes with a source. When something is confirmed, I will tell you. When something is reported but unverified, I will tell you that too. Every time. That is the standard of this channel. If you are not subscribed, now is the time. Hit the notification bell. Every development on this case comes here first. Now let us start where this examination has to start. With who Thy Mitchell actually was. Before we go anywhere near the investigation, before we examine a single theory, before we ask a single question about why, we are going to spend time here. With the people who were lost. Not as victims in a case file. Not as names in a police report. As people. Specific, complete, irreplaceable people who had lives and plans and futures that were taken from them on a Monday evening in River Oaks. We are going to start with Thy Mitchell. I have covered a significant number of cases on this channel. And very rarely do I sit down to research a victim and find someone who, by every single account, from every single person who knew her, was exactly who she appeared to be. No gap between the public persona and the private person. No performance. Just her. What you saw was what she was. And what she was extraordinary. Thy Mitchell was born in Chicago. But Houston is where she became who she was. She grew up as a first-generation Vietnamese American, the daughter of a family that had crossed an ocean and started over. Her father worked at NASA. A Vietnamese immigrant in one of the most technologically demanding institutions in the world. That is the household she grew up in. That is the standard she grew up watching. Her mother and grandmother ran a small Vietnamese restaurant in Houston. And from the time that was a little girl, her weekends belonged to that restaurant. Not as a customer. Working. Watching. Learning what it means to put food in front of a stranger and make them feel like family. She did not learn hospitality from a textbook. She learned it from her mother and her grandmother on weekends as a child, before she had the words for what she was absorbing. That lesson never left her. You can trace it through everything she built for the rest of her life. She earned her degree from the University of Houston while working in the restaurant industry at the same time. She went on to Penn State, earned a master's in human resources, and came back to hold HR leadership roles at 3 Fortune 500 companies in the hospitality and retail industries. But a corporate title was never the destination. It was the preparation. In 2019, Thy and Matthew opened Traveler's Table in Houston's Montrose neighborhood. A menu built from their actual travels. Dishes from Japan, Nigeria, Thailand, India, Singapore, Korea, all under one roof. In 2021, Guy Fieri walked through the door and diners, drive-ins and dives put them on the national map. In 2023, head chef Stanton Bundy competed on Beat Bobby Flay and won. By 2025, Yelp ranked Traveler's Table number 2 in all of Houston. In October 2024, they opened Traveler's Cart, a fashion line called Foreign Fare, a hospitality umbrella called Travelers Collective. And in 2025, the Greater Houston chapter of the Texas Restaurant Association named them Restaurateurs of the Year. The week before May 4th, Thy hosted the Houston Restaurant Association board meeting at Traveler's Table. 50 restaurateurs showed up. Craig Howard, president of the Houston chapter, said it was a great operation, wonderful staff, great food. In the weeks before that, they were developing a World Cup menu. Not winding down. Building forward. That is what Thy Mitchell built. Now let me tell you who she actually was. 1 week after the Mitchell family was found, a community vigil was held at Traveler's Cart on Montrose Boulevard. The Houston Chronicle was there. And what reporters documented is the most honest portrait of Thy Mitchell that exists anywhere in the public record. Angelique Gildas, who styled the Foreign Fare brand alongside Thy, said she had this incredible way of elevating everyone around her without being pushy in any way. You just found yourself doing the best. That is a specific and rare quality. It is not something you perform. It is something you are. Eric Sandler, city editor for Culture Map Houston, said Thy was never happier than when she was helping other people celebrate. That she loved her staff, supported them, promoted them through the ranks, and that being able to provide opportunities for other people's success was deeply meaningful to her. Houston chef Nikki Tran told the Chronicle that Thy had once mentioned missing a broken rice dish Tran used to cook called the Saigon Sunrise. Tran had been looking forward to making it for her again. She never got the chance. She organized gift card swaps among women business owners so their employees could have something extra for the holidays. She promoted other people's restaurants on her own social media. And when Traveler's Cart finished construction, Thy Mitchell did cartwheels in the street in front of her restaurant to celebrate. Because she felt things fully and was not embarrassed to show it. Now I need to tell you about the last Sunday of her life. May 3rd, 2026. Thy took her 8-year-old daughter Maya dress shopping. Not just any dress. A dress for a wedding. They drove to the shop together. Maya tried things on. She looked in the mirrors. She chose. I posted about it on Instagram that same day. She wrote, Maya picked her dress and made sure I was set too. The sweetest mom-daughter time. An 8-year-old girl making sure her mother was set too. That is the child Di Mitchell was raising. That is what 3 days before May 4th looked like. Maya Mitchell was 8 years old. She attended River Oaks Elementary School. She was found in her bed. Maxwell Mitchell was 4 years old. He was found in his bed. Di Mitchell was pregnant at the time of her death. That detail has been widely reported by multiple sourced outlets but has not been officially confirmed by HPD. I am naming it here because it belongs in the complete accounting of what was lost. A third child. A life that had not yet begun. A person who never had the chance to exist outside their mother's body. This is who was in that house on Kingston Street. And before we examine anything else, I need you to carry these 3 people with you through everything that follows. Because everything that follows is about them. Most coverage of cases like this one skips what I am about to walk you through. They name the act. They describe the scene. They list the theories. And then they move on without ever explaining the framework that behavioral researchers and criminal investigators have spent decades building to understand exactly this kind of event. That framework exists. It is documented. It is peer-reviewed. And it changes the way you look at everything else in this case. If this is the standard of coverage you have been looking for, subscribe to Real Crime Uncovered right now and hit the notification bell. Every development on this case comes here first. Now, the category this event belongs to. Family annihilation. That is the clinical term. Used by behavioral researchers, criminal investigators, and forensic psychologists across decades of academic literature. It refers specifically to the killing of an entire family unit by one of its own members. Someone who lived inside that family. Someone who was supposed to be its protector. And I want to be precise about what the research tells us this is not. It is not rage. It is not a snap. The documented behavioral pattern tells us something far more disturbing. In the vast majority of cases, these events are preceded by a period of internal deterioration that is planned, or at minimum deliberate. The act is the endpoint of a process, not a sudden departure from one. This is not impulse. This is collapse. Slow, invisible, internal collapse that the people around the perpetrator almost never see coming. The academic literature has identified 4 documented typologies of perpetrators in these cases. The anomic type, the perpetrator whose identity is so completely fused with a particular image of himself that when that image begins to fracture, he cannot survive the loss of it. His family, in his distorted perception, is an extension of that image. If the image collapses, everything collapses with it. The disappointed type, the perpetrator who has built his entire emotional architecture around a specific vision of how his life was supposed to go. When that vision is threatened, the disappointment is not experienced as a setback. It is experienced as a fundamental betrayal of himself. Of the life he was owed. The paranoid type, the perpetrator who has developed the fixed conviction that external forces are conspiring against him and his family. His act, in his perception, is not destruction. It is protection. The self-righteous type, the perpetrator who believes his family has wronged him and that what he does is a response to an injustice others will eventually recognize. These are not verdicts. They are frameworks for understanding, not excusing. Nothing in this framework changes what happened in that house on May 4th, 2026. What it does is give us a more honest way of asking why. The Mitchell case is most behaviorally consistent with the anomic type, the disappointed type, or some combination of both. Hold that as we move into the theory board. Now the piece of this clinical picture that matters most. The invisibility pattern. Perpetrators in these categories frequently present as high-functioning, respected, socially integrated human beings right up until the moment everything ends. Not men their neighbors suspected. Not men their colleagues were worried about. The men at the dinner table. The men with plans for Monday evening. The men whose closest colleagues described them after the fact in complete disbelief as great friends. No prior domestic violence record is not the exception in these cases. It is the rule. The crisis does not express itself outward. It does not produce arguments neighbors overhear or calls police respond to. It builds internally, invisibly, inside a man who has decided he is not going to let anyone see what is happening to him. And the key behavioral signal that research identifies as almost universally absent. The perpetrator does not ask for help. He carries it alone. Behind the dinner plans and the restaurant meetings and the cocktail menus. Behind everything that the people who love him see and interpret as normalcy. Because from the outside it looks like normalcy. That is the precise and documented horror of it. Now apply that to Matthew Mitchell. 0 prior police calls. 0 legal filings. 0 warning signs in any system. Stanton Bundy, the man who worked alongside Matthew for years in a professional kitchen, who competed nationally during his time at Traveler's Table, told reporters he had only ever seen Matthew and Thy in a minor disagreement, that he considered Matthew a great friend, that after learning what happened he was questioning everything he thought he knew. And on the same Monday evening that Houston police were finding 4 bodies inside that home, Matthew Mitchell's friends were sitting at a dinner table waiting for him. He had plans. Ordinary Monday evening dinner plans with people who cared about him. He never showed up. None of that is an anomaly in the clinical literature on family annihilation. Every single one of those details is consistent with the documented behavioral pattern. That is not a coincidence. That is the pattern. And understanding that it is the pattern is the only honest starting point for examining what the evidence tells us about why. We are going to examine that now. Every theory, every confirmed detail, and one piece of context that nobody else has followed all the way through. There is a detail in this case that every outlet covering the Mitchell family has mentioned once and left sitting on the table. Noted as context. Never followed through. We are picking it up now. February 2026. From the outside it looked like momentum. Thy is pregnant. 2 restaurants running simultaneously. Foreign fare. Board commitments. A World Cup menu in early development. Success compounding on success. A couple still building, still reaching, still planning forward. That is what the outside looked like. Here is what it was hiding. In February 2026, 2 months before May 4th, Thy Mitchell's sister Lai lost her husband suddenly. Doctors believed he suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm. Lai posted about it publicly. She wrote, "I am still in complete disbelief that I am writing this. My husband, Matt, passed away suddenly due to what doctors believe was a ruptured brain aneurysm. Our hearts are shattered, and this loss feels impossible to comprehend. A healthy man. Gone without warning. The kind of loss that is hardest to absorb, sudden, unexplained, no time to prepare." Now, Lai Mai is not a peripheral figure in this story. Lai Mai is the sister whose upcoming wedding in Boston Thy was helping to plan. The sister whose wedding Maya had just picked out a dress to wear to, 3 days before May 4th, in a dressing room full of mirrors. That sister. The one whose future Thy was shopping for. The one whose celebration they were preparing to travel to Boston to attend. That sister lost her husband 2 months before May 4th. Thy was holding her grieving sister together. Quietly. Without making it the story. While pregnant. While running 2 restaurants. While managing a fashion brand and honoring board commitments and developing a World Cup menu. She was carrying her sister's grief on top of everything else she was already carrying. And she was carrying it without it showing. That same month, February 2026, Thy sat down on Houston Matters and talked about the future of her business with calm and optimism. That radio appearance is the last documented public record of Thy Mitchell's state of mind before May 4th. And it showed none of the weight she was carrying. It showed a woman who was present, who was building, who was looking forward. Which means whatever was breaking inside Matthew Mitchell in those weeks before May 4th, it was not visible to Thy either. She was not hiding from a crisis she could see. She was living her life fully and completely right up until the Sunday before everything ended. And here is the analytical point that nobody covering this case has made directly. A household carrying fresh, sudden, unprocessed grief is a household already under compound stress. Matthew Mitchell was inside that grief too. Not at the center of it the way Thy was. But living inside a home where the woman he was married to was quietly holding her grieving sister together on top of everything else she was already doing. That kind of weight does not stay in one person. It changes the atmosphere of a household. It adds pressure to a system that may already have been under more pressure than anyone could see. 2 months later, on May 4, 2026, Houston police walked through the front door of their home on Kingston Street. We have built the picture carefully. Now every explanation the public record allows, examined honestly, collapsed into one passage, with one conclusion at the end that the evidence can actually support. But first, something I need to say clearly before we go anywhere near this. Matthew Mitchell has been named by Houston police as the suspect in the deaths of his wife and 2 children. He is deceased. No criminal charges have been filed. We do not have a confirmed note. We do not have an officially released motive. We do not have a documented diagnosis of any kind. Everything that follows is an analytical examination of the public record. It is not a verdict. It is the honest work of examining what is available and telling you clearly what it does and does not support. Now, the financial picture is real and it is significant. $2.35 million raised for traveler's cart is also $2.35 million owed. Running restaurants in 2025 and 2026 has been genuinely brutal across the country. Labor costs up, food costs up, insurance climbing, rent climbing. A $1.2 million home in River Oaks. A third child on the way. Those numbers are not nothing. But here is where the evidence pushes back. A restaurant editor close to the family told reporters there was no indication financial pressure played a role. And the behavioral record supports that. 2 months before May 4th, I was on Houston Matters talking about the future of her business with calm and optimism. In the weeks before May 4th, they were developing a World Cup menu. You do not invest creative energy in a World Cup menu if you believe everything is about to collapse. Financial pressure may have been one weight among several. It does not hold up as a primary driver. There is an allegation, through unnamed sources only, that Matthew had been experiencing paranoia in the period before May 4th. I am telling you that allegation exists in the reporting. I am also telling you it has not been officially confirmed by Houston police. It has not been addressed by the family. It is not corroborated by any named source. And 0 people who knew Matthew Mitchell have described behavior they would call paranoid. It exists. It cannot carry weight the evidence does not support. There may also be something we do not yet know. A hidden financial discovery. An undisclosed medical diagnosis. Something private that HPD's active investigation is working through right now that has not reached the public record. That possibility is real. The honest examination of this case requires naming it explicitly. But here is where the evidence most consistently and honestly lands. Severe, invisible, untreated depression. Operating in a man who had given no one around him any access to his internal state. Let me be clear about what we do not have. No confirmed diagnosis, no documented treatment, no paper trail of any kind. But severe depression does not always produce a paper trail. The most devastating depressive episodes are frequently the ones that leave no trail at all, because the person experiencing them has no awareness of how serious the situation has become, or is actively concealing it from everyone around them, or both simultaneously. At its most severe, depression does not look like sadness from the outside. It can look like a man showing up to work. A man naming cocktails. A man with dinner plans on a Monday evening. And there is a specific perceptual distortion that severe untreated depression can produce. A distortion in which the world is no longer experienced as something survivable. In which ending a family's lives is experienced not as destruction but as protection. That is not rational. That is the documented, catastrophic reality distorting effect of a crisis that has been carried alone for too long by a person who gave no one around him any access to it. Every behavioral feature of this case is consistent with that. The complete invisibility. The 0 police calls. The 0 legal filings. The friend who called him a great friend. The dinner plans. All of it consistent. None of it confirmed. But it is the most honest analytical ground the public record allows us to stand on. And it is not a comfortable place to stand. Because it means the most dangerous version of this kind of crisis is the one that announces itself to no one. Before we reach the close of this video, I want to draw a clear line. Tell you precisely where the confirmed public record stands as of today. Not as of when this story first broke. Not as of the most recent comment section. As of the most current verified reporting drawn from named official sources. Here is what is officially confirmed. Sourced directly from Houston Police Department statements and Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences records. Houston police have named Matthew Mitchell as the suspect in the deaths of his wife and 2 children. He is deceased. No criminal charges have been filed. There is no living suspect to charge. The Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences has confirmed all 4 cause of death rulings. Matthew Mitchell, suicide by self-inflicted gunshot wound. Di Mitchell, homicide. Maya Mitchell, homicide. Maxwell Mitchell, homicide. The official time of the children's deaths is 6:11 in the evening on Monday, May 4, 2026. Both children were found in their beds. HPD's official statement, quoted directly, evidence on scene indicated the incident was a murder-suicide in which the male shot the 3 victims and then shot himself. Confirmed by NBC News. Confirmed by the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences. The investigation remains active. Anyone with information is urged to contact HPD Homicide at 713-308-3600. Here is what has been widely reported but not officially confirmed by HPD. Di Mitchell was pregnant at the time of her death. Reported by multiple outlets with sourcing from people close to the family. Not in any official HPD statement. I have named it throughout this video because it belongs in the complete accounting of what was lost. But it sits in this category until official confirmation exists. Here is what is unverified. The allegation that Matthew Mitchell had been experiencing paranoia. Unnamed sources only. Not in any official record. Not addressed by Houston police or the family. Not corroborated by any named source. It has been treated throughout this video exactly as it deserves to be treated, as an unverified thread that cannot carry weight the evidence does not support. Here is what remains open. No motive officially released. No note confirmed. No final communication from Matthew Mitchell made public. The HPD investigation is active and its findings have not been released. Every confirmed development on this case will be covered on Real Crime Uncovered with the same sourcing standard you have seen applied throughout this video. Name sources. The 3 tiers maintained every time. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Because when this investigation produces something new, you need to be here. I'm not going to wrap this up, because this case does not fit in a sentence. And pretending it does would be the final dishonesty in a story that deserves nothing but honesty from beginning to end. What I am going to do is tell you what this case teaches us. Not about the Mitchells specifically. About all of us. About the systems we live inside. About the assumptions we make about safety and visibility and warning in crisis. The first thing. The absence of documentation is not the same as safety. 0 prior police calls to that home. 0 legal filings in Harris County courts. 0 restraining orders. 0 domestic violence reports. 0 documented incidents in any system that exists to catch exactly this kind of building crisis. And 4 people dead on a Monday evening in one of the most prestigious neighborhoods in Houston. We have built systems that treat documentation as the primary evidence of reality. If a police call was not made, the situation was not serious. If a filing was not submitted, the relationship was safe. The Mitchell case is a direct and confirmed rebuttal to that assumption. It produced not one piece of documentation that any system could have acted on. And it ended the way it ended. The lesson is not that our systems are useless. The lesson is that our systems have a specific blind spot. And the blind spot is the crisis that does not express itself outward. The crisis that builds internally in silence behind the face of a man who is showing up to work and naming cocktails and making dinner plans. That crisis is precisely the one our systems are least equipped to catch. The second thing. The most dangerous crises are the most invisible ones. Stanton Bundy ran the Traveler's Table Kitchen for 5 years alongside Matthew Mitchell. He told TMZ he had only ever seen Matthew and Thy in a minor spat, which never got physical, and that he considered Matthew a great friend. He said after learning what happened he was questioning everything he thought he knew, including his faith. That is not a failure of Stanton Bundy. That is not a failure of Matthew's friends sitting at a dinner table that same Monday evening waiting for him to walk through the door. That is not a failure of Thy, who was posting laughing videos with Matthew on Instagram 10 days before everything ended. None of those people failed to see something that was there to be seen. Whatever Matthew was carrying in those final weeks, he was carrying it in a silence so complete it left no trace. Invisible crisis does not announce itself. It does not hand you a warning sign. It builds in the space between one Instagram post and the next. In the silence between a Sunday phone call that sounds completely normal and a Monday welfare check that finds 4 people gone. The third thing. The babysitter's instinct is the lesson. She had no articulable reason to call. She had familiarity. The knowledge built through time with this specific family that their silence was not normal. She could not prove it. She could not file it. She just knew it. And she acted on it. That call did not save the family. The tragedy had already happened. But it ended the not knowing. It brought the world in. And it is a reminder that when something does not feel right, you call. Every time. Without waiting for documentation. Because the call that saves a life and the call that simply ends the not knowing are both worth making. Now, the people who were lost. Named and specific. Thy Mitchell was 39 years old. Born in Chicago. She posted a video on the last Sunday of her life of herself and Maya walking to a dress shop. She wrote, "The sweetest mom-daughter time." She was carrying a 3rd child when she died. Maya Mitchell was 8 years old. She attended River Oaks Elementary School. She made sure her mother was set too. She was found in her bed. Maxwell Mitchell was 4 years old. He was found in his bed. Somewhere in Houston, Nikki Tran is still thinking about the Saigon sunrise. The broken rice dish she used to cook that I had mentioned missing. She was looking forward to making it for her again. She never got the chance. The staff of Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart showed up the morning after the Mitchell family was found. They clocked in. They opened the doors. They kept serving Houston. The restaurant issued a confirmed statement, and I am quoting it directly, "As Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart remain open for business, we want to thank our loyal staff, who have shown up and worked through these difficult circumstances, ensuring that we continue to serve our community. Hospitality comes from within, and to honor the Traveler's legacy, we will continue to welcome you into our restaurants." That is what Thy Mitchell built. Not just restaurants, a place where people show up for each other. The restaurants are still open. The Traveler's legacy is being honored every day. Now, the door we are leaving open. HPD's investigation remains active. No motive has been officially released. No note confirmed. The full picture of why Matthew Mitchell did what investigators say he did on May 4, 2026 has not been made public. It may be. It may not. When HPD releases new confirmed information, when this investigation produces something that belongs in the public record, Real Crime Uncovered will cover it. In full. Named sources. Confirmed facts. The same standard you have seen applied throughout this video. Every time. That is the promise of this channel. Subscribe if you have not already. Hit the notification bell. Because the follow-up to this story may come without much warning. And when it does, you need to be here. Before we close, if you or someone you know is struggling, if the weight feels too heavy to carry alone, please reach out. Call or text 988. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Free. Confidential. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You do not have to be in crisis to call. If you are in a relationship where you do not feel safe, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is available at 1-800-799-7233. Trained advocates available around the clock. Free and confidential. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what you are carrying from this story. Tell us where you are watching from. I read every comment. Rest in peace, Thy Mitchell. Rest in peace, Maya. Rest in peace, Maxwell. And may the Traveler's legacy live on in every meal served, every staff member lifted up, and every table where someone sits down and feels for a moment like they have gotten away. We will see you when there is more to tell.